Hey guys, I have a pretty cool tutorial for you today. It's an old trick, but one that a new generation of producers and beat makers and engineers can definitely beneficiate from. Now, we're going to be dealing with low frequency content, so I'm sure that this will target more of a hip hop or EDM type of crowd, but really just, you can use this on any genre of music. I was actually using it a few days ago on a heavy rock track. So really just any track that has low frequency content, you can use this. Now, speaking of which, if you really want to beneficiate from this tutorial, you really need to have monitors that can reach down low, at least down in the 30 hertz range. Otherwise, you really won't hear anything. So either that, or of course, if you have a sub, that'll do just fine. So I usually use this trick as a solution to a problem. So let's expose the problem, and then we'll figure out a solution. So let's say, for instance, that you have a drum beat, a drum pattern, and then within that drum beat you have one of those low 808 kicks, one of those. Okay, now what you just heard is basically just nothing but a transient. Think of it as like the attack or the initial hit of a kick drum in this case, and then a long tail. Now that long tail is nothing but a sine wave, okay? A sine wave that has a certain frequency. Now this, for instance, this is a sine wave, okay? I have 40 hertz right here. You may be more familiar with this as being a sine wave, okay? Pretty annoying. But essentially, when it comes to audio, frequency and pitch are related. It's the same thing. So basically, that long tail of that kick is a note, okay? And more often than not, that note is not necessarily in the key of the song, okay? So if you were to play the whole drum beat by itself with that low kick, shouldn't have any problem. So let's take a listen, for instance, to this one here. Okay, no problem. Now, the issue is going to be when we start introducing other low-end content, like the bass, for instance, because more than likely, some of the notes of the bass, and we're about to find out, might, or more than likely will clash with the note generated by the tail of that low kick. So let's take a listen real quick with the bass line. There you go, already on the first note here. Now let me solo that low kick and that low bass, okay, and see what we have here. There you go. Now if I play the bass by itself, okay, it's a pretty clean note. If I play the kick by itself, now, that kick is nice and low, makes you feel warm and fuzzy, but as soon as I play both of them together, you see, you hear that clash. It's basically, think of it this way. It's kind of like when you have a guitar that's out of tune. You're trying to play some chord and some notes, and then it sounds dissonant because some of the notes are out of tune. Now, our ears are more trained, naturally to hear mid-range frequencies, so it's more obvious to us. But when it's in a low frequency content, if you're not trained to listen for that, then you might miss it. But basically, it's think of it as like having really low notes out of tune. Okay, so now that we've sort of exposed the problem, let's figure out a solution. Evidently, we can't change the bass. The bass line is there for a reason. That'll change the key of the song, so you want to leave that alone, of course. But now that we know what our low 808 kick is made of, we're going to be able to essentially make our own and tune it to the notes, the key of the song, essentially. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a duplicate of the original 808 kick. Okay, now you know, whoever sends you the tracks, you know, they picked you know, the particular elements of the beat for a particular reason. So for instance, they may have liked how the kick hit, for instance. So we definitely want to retain that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to call this one low kick short, for instance. Okay, I'm going to mute the first one, and all I'm going to do is I'm essentially going to cut or shorten that kick as much as I can, you know. So I want to be able to retain the transient, but cut as much of the tail as possible. So let me do this, you know, with a nice fade and making sure that we don't get a click or a pop. Let's listen to this. Okay, perfect. Okay, we may lengthen, shorten, you know, in a second. We'll see how that goes. So I'm going to replace all of those. Okay, so do this here. I'm going to copy, paste, paste, and paste. Okay, so basically now we have our transient. Okay, we're going to have the attack of that kick. Now what we need to do is we need to build our tail. So this is going to be actually pretty easy. So I already have a signal generator created on this aux input. Now if you don't know where that's located, you know, click on the insert, go to the plugin, and then other category, and then at the very bottom or close to the very bottom, signal generator. Okay, now the really important part here is we need to figure out which frequency. So what we need to do, or typically what I do, is I open up an instrument, okay, and an instrument track, and then you know, in this case I just put expand with a very simple bass sound to it. Okay, and what we need to figure out, you know, if you want, given the key of the song, for instance, we need to figure out which notes are being played. So let's just take a quick listen to the first bass note, for instance, here. Okay, so now I'm going to enable my instrument, and I'm going to there we go, get lucky on this one. So it looks like a C. Okay, so what I do next is I simply go to you know, I go online, go to Safari, for instance. Okay, and then there we go. You basically going to look for which, you know, precise frequency you're looking for depending on which note was being played. So for instance, right now we had a C, so you know, C0 at 16 hertz is a bit low. But if you look at the C1 right here, we have a frequency of close to 33 hertz. So let's take a look and let's give this a try. So I'm going to open my signal generator, okay, this one right here, if you remember, and I'm going to change the frequency to 33. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this along with the bass and see if it wobbles, or see if it, you know, if it's gives you a nice even sound. So let's take a listen. Okay, so let's cut this for a second. Now that we've figured out which frequency needs to be played, so basically what you just heard is going to become the tail of that kick. Now, of course, we don't want that frequency to be on constantly. So the old trick here is to essentially use a technique called key input triggering or sidechain triggering. And the basis of that technique is to use a dynamic processor. You know, it could be a compressor, or in our case today, it's going to be a gate. And so think of it this way: we have our signal generator, and I'm going to put a gate on it. So as soon as I do that, matter of fact, let me just simply do it here. So I'm going to open my gate here. Let's go to dynamics. I'll get my C1 gate. Okay, now if I put the gate full on this one, I'm going to completely block the sound. Okay, so right now we have our sine wave that's being blocked by the gate, and evidently, since we have an even sound, we don't have transients that go up and down. It's going to be very difficult for that sine wave to trigger that gate open. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a sidechain input or key input, and we're going to feed another signal. In our case today, it's going to be the transient or the attack that we just edited. So essentially, think of it this way: we've got a gate that's blocking the sine wave, and then that kick, we're going to feed it to the gate, and every time that kick hits, it's going to open that gate, let the sine wave go, and then we're going to close that gate, you know, more or less, fast or slow, depending on how long we want to hear the note. Okay. To do this is actually pretty easy. Now I do have a preset on here that I'm going to load just to make my life easy here. Set 808 kick, and there it is. So again, the idea here is we're going to use this track, okay, the one that has our short transient, okay, as a trigger for the gate, okay. So all we got to do is go into the send section of our short kick, okay, send it to an available bus, okay. Let's pick, I don't know, it looks like I've got one right here, kick key, all right, there it is. And then from within your C1 gate or any kind of gate you want to use, as long as it's got a key input right here, we're going to pick that same bus. Okay, so and there it is. Okay, so let's take a listen to this here. So we're gonna make a short loop here. Okay, and so we're gonna play this basically. Okay, kind of over and over, and as it's looping, I'm going to add a little bit more of our transient, our short kick, into the sidechain of the gate, which should, you know, at some point trigger it and let the sine wave through. So let's take a listen. There you go. And you know, of course, you know, like I said, you know, it was a preset, so I've already adjusted a couple of things, but you know, you have to adjust, you know, the release time, you know, depending on how long you want that kick to last, essentially, or that note to last. Now let's listen to it again now with the bass, okay, and see what we have. Okay, no more clashing. Okay, now if we were to listen to the whole beat real quick. Now, this works well, but you may have noticed that right here, okay, this bass note right here is actually different. Okay, this is not a C. This looks like a D sharp. So, now what we may need to do, since there is, you know, one of those low kick right here, is we may need to automate the frequency of our signal generator right here to change to different notes. So right now, you know, we have a 33 hertz frequency. What we can do is we can add this particular parameter, the frequency parameter, as being part of a automation feature or parameter. And now I'm going to go back to my frequency chart right here on Safari, okay, and it looks like a D sharp would be somewhere around 39 hertz. Okay, so let's change this here, and I'm going to simply highlight this section right here, okay, and I'm going to change my frequency from 32 to roughly about 39. Okay, and let's see how that works. Now I'm hearing a few clicks and pops here, and that's basically, if you were to take a really close look here at the changes of frequency, okay, I'm going to blow it up even more here, okay, you see this is kind of a sharp change. So one thing that you may want to do, for instance, you may want to make a little bit more of a smooth transition, maybe like that. Okay, same over here. Okay, just so it's not such a sharp change, and this this should smooth it out quite a bit. Let's take a listen again. I'm still hearing one right here, so we'll smooth it out even more. May exaggerate it a bit here and see. Okay. Here we go. Okay. And so basically now, you know, if you automate the frequency of the sine wave throughout the tune to match it, to make it match the key change or the note changes of more specifically the bass, but of course the rest of the track, then you know, you're not gonna get this low, you know, low frequency wobble that we heard earlier, and that's very unpleasant. And to me, kind of defeats the purpose of having a nice, you know, enveloping low end, you know, something that's just warm and fuzzy. So, and another thing you may want to automate too is maybe the length of or how long the gate stays open. You know, that's another parameter that you can adjust. You know, some of them, you know, of course, depending on the tempo of the song, you know, whatever you want to do, you know, you get the point. So now, of course, if you don't want to deal with automating the frequencies all the way through as well as the length of the gate, then you can simply just bounce the short kick along with the sine wave on its own audio track. You know, just simply bus, you know, both of them to the audio track, record. Okay, and then just, you know, trim it, fade it, and treat it as just any other audio clip in your session. So that's it. Now, you know, this whole key trigger input, you know, there's tons and tons and tons of applications. You know, this is only one of them, but I find it very efficient, and this should help you either write some new beats, or if you're a mixer and, you know, you get tracks from clients who didn't do this, you'd be able to essentially retune the kick to, you know, to make it more of an impact, make it have more of an impact in your track. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this helps, and we'll see you next time.